On the eve of my daughter's birthday, I flew back home overnight just to surprise her, but when I got home, I heard my 5-year-old daughter say to my husband, "Dad, Mommy Nuri said she'll give me my favorite cake on my birthday." I like both moms, but I like Mommy Nuri better. Why does Mommy Nuri say she's my real mom? Through the crack in my daughter's bedroom door, I saw my husband affectionately pinch my daughter's little nose and smile, saying, "Nini, Mommy Nuri is right. She is your biological mother. But you must remember, this is our little secret. Don't tell your mom, okay?" I know the Mommy Nuri they're talking about. She's my husband's ex and his first love. The paternity test results were on the table, but I couldn't bring myself to open them. I stood alone by the window, gazing at the sky gradually darkening outside, reminiscing about the little moments I had shared with my husband Joran and our daughter Nini. Until Mia, the secretary, knocked on the door and came in. "Kala, this is the diamond bracelet you asked me to custom make. Today is your daughter's birthday. She'll be so happy to know you came back specially for her." Will they really be happy? I came to my senses. I still have some things to take care of. You can go home first. Mia nodded and left. I took a deep breath, filling my lungs with oxygen and courage. Slowly, I opened the paternity test results on the desk. The results above show that the abandoned infant I found at my doorstep, whom I have raised as my beloved daughter Nini for 5 years, is indeed the biological daughter of my husband Joran. The suffocating feeling grew stronger and stronger. I opened my mouth wide, gasping for air like a beached whale. The heavy weight in my heart finally crashed down on me. My daughter Nini is 5 years old. Joran and I have been married for 6 years. That means that after I married Joran, he was still entangled with his first love, Nuri, and even had a relationship with her. The man who claimed to love me the most had cheated on me. After the initial heartbreak, I quickly regained my composure. Actually, when I think about it carefully, there were signs of this happening long ago. During our first year of marriage, Joran and I were inseparable, but I didn't get pregnant. Joran's parents were anxious and kept urging us to have a baby. I discussed with Joran that we should go to the hospital for a checkup to see if there was anything wrong with my body. If there was a problem, it would be better to treat it early. Due to work, I couldn't go to the hospital on the day the results came out, so I asked Joran to pick up the test results. He said that the test results showed that there was something wrong with my body and that I was infertile. When I heard the news, I was overcome with self-blame and guilt. But Joran didn't seem to care and just kept comforting me. He told me, "It's okay, honey. Even if we don't have children, I will love you forever." I was so touched. Not long after that, we found our newborn daughter, Nini, at our doorstep. At that time, I wanted to take the child directly to the police station and ask the police to help find his biological parents. Joran stopped me. He said that this was a child sent to us by heaven to make up for our inability to become parents. Now that I think about it, I was so stupid. I raised the child he had with another woman. Joran clearly knew that this child was his biological daughter. He didn't care whether we could have children of our own because he knew that his first love, Nuri, had already given him a child. If I hadn't flown back early to surprise them, I wouldn't have overheard the two mothers talking freely with their daughter. I'm afraid Joran would still be in the dark. My marriage to Joran is a common business arrangement in our circle. His family's company ran out of money and needed to raise funds urgently, so they approached our family. He only has one sister, but she is already married to a man who joined her family. Therefore, Joran was the best candidate. The only difference was that I really liked Joran. At that time, I was still in my junior year of college, in my early 20s. Joran was also an artist, romantic, and extremely gentle. That's how I fell in love with him. The elegant and refined young man gazed at me tenderly, his clear eyes clearly reflecting my image. It had been so long that I had forgotten how I felt at the time. I only remember my face burning like fire. Perhaps I was blinded by love, or perhaps he was too good at pretending, making me believe that he loved me as much as I loved him. I didn't bother to investigate his past. So at first, I didn't know that he had had a deep but broken relationship with his first love. It wasn't until later, at a gathering, that I heard his friends mention it and learned about his past with Nuri. I confronted him. He replied with deep emotion that it was just the foolishness of youth, that it was all in the past, and that I was the only one for him now. I believed him. I thought that if enough time passed, he would eventually forget Nuri. After we got married, he was kind and considerate to me, caring for me in every way. After we adopted Nini, we grew even closer. I thought I had earned his heart with mine, but reality slapped me in the face. Looking back now, I was just naive and foolish. Marrying me was purely to solve his family's urgent financial problems. We've been married for 6 years. Our daughter Nini knows that she has another mother. Joran deliberately watches me being fooled by him. In his eyes, I must be very stupid. The phone screen lit up. It was a message from Joran. Honey, no matter how busy you are at work, remember to eat on time. Nini and I miss you very much. Nini has been crying for you these past few days. I stared blankly at the message on my phone. When I felt a chill on my cheeks, I reached up and touched my face, only to find it covered in tears. This is the man I love. A liar. Yesterday, I postponed several important meetings to celebrate my daughter Nini's birthday. I rushed back home early, but it turned out that I was the one who received a surprise. When faced with such a situation, no one can remain calm. I tried my best to control my emotions because I didn't want to get into a pointless argument with Joran in front of Nini. So I quietly returned to my parents' house, found the toiletries Joran and Nini had used, carefully packed them up, and sent them to the DNA testing center. I needed to confirm what they had said. If it was true, this would be the evidence. Last night, I didn't go back to that disgusting house. I stayed at my parents' house instead. I sent Joran a message saying that I had a meeting and couldn't make it back in time for Nini's birthday. The screensaver shows a family photo of the 3 of us. To those who don't know the truth, we must look like a very happy family of 3. Now it seems particularly ironic. I suddenly feel very tired. Is it worth continuing this relationship, which I have devoted myself to wholeheartedly, and this little family we have built? Was it a mistake to agree to this business marriage? I didn't reply to Joran's message. After a while, Joran sent me another birthday video. In the video, my daughter Nini was making a wish. From the mirror that flashed by, I saw another woman across the room. It was Nuri. She actually came too. How brazen. Honey, this is a video of Nini making a wish earlier. Nini had so much fun today. I looked at Nini, who was looking more and more like Nuri, and my heart grew cold. I'm not the type of person who likes to cling on. If I love someone, I love them, if I don't, I don't. But I absolutely despise being deceived and toyed with. Before the video was sent, I had originally planned to just get a divorce. We're all adults, there's no need to make a big scene out of it. But now I've changed my mind. Since Joran and Nuri liked to get themselves into trouble, I wasn't going to go easy on them. I took out my phone and called my cousin. She was as cold as ever. What is it? I didn't beat around the bush and got straight to the point. Sis, do me a favor and look up someone for me. I composed myself, pretending nothing had happened. As soon as I stepped through the door, the birthday party was still going on. Nini's soft voice drifted over. Nini is so happy today, with Daddy and Mommy Nuri here to celebrate my birthday. I stopped in my tracks and looked inside. There stood a woman with delicate features and a gentle smile. It was Joran's first love, Nuri. She playfully pinched Nini's cheek. Nini, you're such a good girl. Joran sat to one side, watching her interact with Nini, a look of happiness and contentment on his face. In the 6 years since we got married, it was the first time I had ever felt so disgusted by him. The 3 of them in the living room looked so harmonious and warm, as if they were a family of 3. But that makes sense. In terms of blood ties, they are the real family, aren't they? Even though I was mentally prepared for it, it still hurts. It feels like there's a lump in my chest, like I've swallowed something wrong. I can't spit it out, and I can't digest it either. It was Nini who spotted me first. Mommy. She broke free from Nuri's embrace and ran toward me. I quickly picked her up and held her close. Looking at Nini's innocent and adorable face, I couldn't help but feel a pang of tenderness. After all, she was my precious daughter, whom I had raised with my own hands. Seeing me, Joran and Nuri's expressions changed instantly. Joran quickly regained his composure and looked at me tenderly. Honey, why are you back? Didn't you say you had a meeting? What? Don't you want me to come back? I took Nini's hand and walked straight to the sofa. How could that be, honey? This is my friend Nuri, who just came back from abroad. I thought it was Nini's birthday, and you had to work and couldn't come home, so I invited her to come over and join us. After all, she's here all alone and doesn't know anyone. You don't know your way around here? Joran, you're so thoughtful. Nuri, if I remember correctly, she's not just your friend, she's also your first ex-girlfriend, right? This is like an old flame reunion. Seeing that I was giving him no face, Joran's expression turned sour. Don't blame Joran, it's my fault. I just really like Nini and wanted to give her a birthday celebration. Since you don't welcome it, I'll leave now. Mommy Nuri, don't go. Stay and play with Nini for a little longer. Nini broke free from my embrace and hugged Nuri, who was about to get up. This is my good husband and my good daughter. The person Nini loves with all her heart. I looked at them coldly, and the last shred of hope I had for them was completely shattered. This was my first time meeting Nuri. Her eyes were red, and she looked like a frightened little deer. She spoke softly and gently, looking completely harmless. No wonder Joran couldn't stop thinking about her. She was the complete opposite of me, who was bright and outgoing. But I'm not Joran, and I only feel disgust for her. Nuri, you can go now. Seeing how direct I was, Joran finally couldn't hold back. What are you doing? Nuri just came to celebrate Nini's birthday. Why are you being so aggressive? This was the first time Joran had ever lost his temper with me. He realized he had overreacted and quickly apologized. A surge of anger I couldn't suppress suddenly welled up inside me. From the moment I stepped into the living room, Joran had repeatedly defended Nuri, while Nuri had deliberately provoked me. I couldn't help but reflect on myself. Was I too submissive in the past? Did Joran take advantage of my love for him to humiliate me like this? Not only did he make me take care of their children, but he even defended this woman in front of me without any hesitation. Does he really think I'm easy to bully? There was some leftover cake on the table with a few blueberries still on top. I remembered what Nini had said yesterday. Mommy Nuri said she would give me my favorite cake on my birthday. I picked it up and threw it in the trash can. Joran and Nuri were stunned. The first to react was Nini. Her birthday cake had been thrown into the trash can, and she was extremely upset, crying and wailing, "My birthday cake! Mom is bad, I hate Mom." Joran scolded me harshly, "Kala, you've lost your mind." Nuri quickly picked up Nini and comforted her, "Nini, it's okay. Mommy Nuri will buy you a new cake, okay? Don't cry, Nini." Nini sobbed in her arms, waving her little hands in the air, "Mommy is bad, I don't like Mommy, I like Mommy Nuri." Joran said angrily, "It's Nini's birthday, what are you doing? Throwing her birthday cake, do you even deserve to be Nini's mother?" I looked at Joran and felt for the first time that his elegant and handsome face was so repulsive. I'm not fit to be Nini's mother. Isn't there another one here? He frowned, about to lash out at me, but when he met my cold gaze, he froze. You three are the real family, so don't force my responsibilities as a mother onto me. It makes me feel sick. Also, Nini is allergic to blueberries just like you. If she eats any, there's medicine in the medicine cabinet. Hurry up and give it to her. Upon hearing my words, Joran's expression changed abruptly, and he hurriedly went to find medicine. I didn't want to stay with them for another moment, so I turned around and went upstairs to pack my luggage. As I was pulling my luggage, I didn't expect Joran to chase after me. At the garage entrance, he stopped me. He reached out and frantically knocked on my car window. "What did you mean by what you just said?" I rolled down the window and looked at the man I once deeply loved, asking in return, "Joran, are you feeling guilty?" He remained silent, staring intently at me. It seemed as if he was trying to read something from my face. Then he began to coax me, "Honey, I know you're angry with me because of my past with Nuri, but we're really just friends now. Please don't make a scene, okay?" At this point, he still stubbornly refused to admit it. He couldn't let go of his former sweetheart, nor could he bear to lose the support of my family. But there's no such thing as a free lunch in this world, and why should he be the only one to reap all the benefits? Let's get a divorce. I feel that marriage has reached a point where it is truly meaningless. I should have divorced him the moment I saw the results of the paternity test. Instead, I clung to the fantasy that Joran might feel even the slightest bit of remorse or guilt toward me, his wife of 6 years. Joran was stunned. Divorce? Why would we get divorced when everything is fine? I said softly, "Joran, you may not know this, but I actually know you better than you know yourself. We've been married for 6 years, and every time we argue, you just wait for me to apologize first. But today you came after me because you feel guilty and afraid. If you hadn't done anything wrong and had a clear conscience, you wouldn't have come after me. You would have just waited for me to apologize first." When he heard what I said, his face instantly darkened. I saw his hands clench into fists. I slowly rolled up the window and prepared to drive away. Just as the window closed, I saw Joran's lips move. It seemed as if he wanted to explain something, but in the end, he didn't say anything. I went back to my parents' house. I didn't take anything with me, but I didn't want to go back to the house I hated. So I stayed at my parents' house. That night, Joran called me many times. Seeing that I didn't answer, he sent several more text messages. "Honey, what's wrong with you? Are you serious about divorce? Do you really want to leave me and Nini? Our marriage represents more than just you and me, do you understand?" Seeing this, I laughed sarcastically. All these years, my feelings for him were nothing but a waste of time. My sincerity was worthless in his eyes. I thought he was genuinely trying to save our marriage. It was because they were afraid it would affect the business cooperation between the two families. After all, my family's financial strength far exceeded that of Joran's family. But why? When I married him, it was my family that saved him from bankruptcy. Most importantly, I never forced him to marry me. Before we started dating, I told him that I agreed to date him because I liked him as a person. If he didn't like me, we could just be friends. As a friend, I would still help his family through financial difficulties. But he chose to deceive me. Over the years, I gradually took over the family business because I loved him and loved everything about him. My cooperation with Joran's family over the past few years has also been very beneficial to them. Only then did he have the opportunity to devote himself to his beloved art, become a gallery owner, establish a studio, and hold art exhibitions. But what did my sacrifices get me in return? A cheating husband and a child he had with another woman. Do you really think I'm a sucker? That evening, I contacted the company lawyer directly and asked her to draft a divorce agreement as soon as possible. The company lawyer was very efficient and sent me the divorce agreement that same evening. I read it through, found no problems, and sent it directly to Joran. Soon, his phone rang. "Kala, are you really going to divorce me?" Joran sounded angry. Perhaps he hadn't expected me to actually go through with the divorce. "You know my temper. Sign quickly so we can part ways amicably. What is it you want? We've been married for 6 years and everything has always been fine. If we divorce, what will happen to Nini?" This was the first time I had ever heard him beg so humbly. In the past, I would have definitely relented, but unfortunately, I no longer love him. Even though I had already decided to part ways with him, hearing him speak like that still made me feel a little sad. He always knew that if he lowered his stance just a little and waved his hand, I would return to his side just as I had before. Wasn't it because he knew I loved him? But even though he knew how much I loved him, he still chose to trample on my feelings like this. I said coldly, Joran, I don't love you anymore. After we divorce, I'll give Nini to you, and I'll give my place to Nuri, so the three of you can be together openly. Isn't that good? I thought he would sign the divorce agreement quickly. Unexpectedly, there was no news from Joran. On the weekend, Joran's parents asked me to go back for dinner, which was very unusual. I thought about it and decided to tell them about the divorce so they could talk to Joran. It would be better for Nini and everyone else. But when I walked in the door, I saw my parents chatting happily with Joran and his parents. I couldn't help but frown. I didn't want to add to my parents' worries with my miserable marriage. I didn't expect Joran to call them over. Nini was playing with her Barbie dolls. When she saw me come back, she happily threw herself into my arms and called out, Mommy. I was afraid she would fall, so I rushed forward and held her. After all, she was my daughter whom I had raised with great care. It would be a lie to say that I didn't have feelings for her. But I still couldn't accept her background. Once she was steady on her feet, I let her go. Nini's mom interrupted everyone's conversation in the room. My parents and Joran's parents all turned to look at me. Seeing this, what else was there to understand? Joran must have told them that I wanted a divorce and asked both sets of parents to come and mediate. Sure enough, as soon as I sat down in the living room, Joran asked the aunt to take Nini away. Joran said you want to divorce him? I asked why you haven't been going home lately and have been staying at home instead. Nini is already 5 years old. Why would you suddenly want to divorce? My father spoke first, his tone somewhat serious, but he wasn't blaming me. He just wanted to know the reason why I wanted a divorce. Joran's parents couldn't bring up this topic themselves, after all, they had been relying on our family for support all these years. However, my father started the conversation, and Joran's mother began to hold my hand and said earnestly, Kala, I know that marrying into our family has been very difficult for you over the years. Our Joran is not as capable as you and cannot earn as much money. But you two have always been so in love over the years. We, as your parents, have seen it all. Why would you suddenly bring up divorce out of the blue? Have you met someone who's been sweet-talking you? Kala, you're a career woman. You meet many people and have seen a lot of the world, but you still have to put your family first. Whatever conflicts you have with Joran, let's sit down and talk it out today. Divorce is no small matter. Even though Nini is adopted, we shouldn't be so hasty for the sake of the child. Don't you agree? Joran's father chimed in, and the two of them seemed to have decided that I was a woman who had been messing around with men outside the marriage. The only one who didn't say anything was my mom. She looked at me with pity. I didn't expect Joran to be so shameless. It seemed that dinner was off the table. I had originally hoped to save face for both of us and part ways amicably with Joran. But at that moment, I suddenly didn't want to spare his feelings anymore. A man who relies on his wife to support his family, where does he get the courage? He keeps pushing my boundaries time and time again. Does he really not fear me exposing his disgusting, hypocritical facade in public? Joran, you know why I divorced you. Why didn't you tell Mom and Dad? Joran didn't expect me to be so blunt. He lowered his head guiltily, unable to look me in the eye. At that moment, I felt like I had been blind all along, never seeing the true face of the man standing before me. I used to have a filter on him. Love is blind, and in my eyes, he was perfect, gentle, and romantic. Now the filter is broken. In my eyes, he's nothing but a complete jerk. What a piece of work. I used to love him very much, but I wasn't so desperate that I would throw away my self-respect for a jerk. I calmly took the paternity test results, which I had read countless times, out of my briefcase and placed them on the coffee table. This is why I want a divorce. No amount of words could be more convincing than a paternity test. The moment Joran saw the paternity test, he panicked. He lowered his head and said nothing. But his hands betrayed him. His fist was clenched so tightly that his knuckles were visible, and the veins on his pale, flawless hand were bulging. I knew he was thinking about how to explain this to my parents. Both sets of parents' faces changed. My mother was the first to pick up the paternity test. She flipped straight to the last page and saw the black and white results. Her hands trembling, she covered her chest and collapsed onto the sofa. My father and I rushed over to support her. For my parents, this paternity test was Joran's blatant deception. On the other hand, Joran's parents were overjoyed. After all, they had always believed that I was infertile, which would mean the end of their family line. Although Joran's sister Ren had a daughter, she was not their granddaughter. Because of the two elders' partiality, Ren and Joran's sibling relationship became strained. Over the years, it was I who went to great lengths to mend their relationship. Now that I think about it, it was just me being full. I don't think there's anything left to talk about. It's been 6 years, and whether as a wife, mother, or daughter-in-law, I feel I have nothing to be ashamed of, I said softly. Then he looked at Joran, who remained silent, and said, for Nini's sake, sign the divorce agreement quickly. Then you can take her to find her biological mother. Joran was speechless. My father's face turned pale, and he raised his hand and slapped Joran hard across the face. Everyone present was startled. The father I knew was refined and scholarly, rarely losing his temper. Now, he had actually struck Joran for the sake of his unworthy daughter. Tears welled up in my eyes. My mother stood beside me, gripping my hand tightly. Joran, who was being beaten, didn't utter a sound. But Joran's mother was heartbroken and pushed my father away. Father-in-law, what are you doing? How dare you hit my son? It's your daughter who can't have children. My son has already been as kind as can be by not divorcing her. Besides, they've been raising Nini for 5 years now. Why bother arguing over such trivial matters? Joran's father couldn't bring himself to say anything, but his expression was extremely grim. I'm fine, Mom. It's all my fault. As long as Kala and my in-laws can forgive me, I'm willing to take any punishment. Kala, after all these years, you expect me to just let go? I don't believe it. Can't you give me another chance? I never imagined that Joran, who had always been so arrogant in front of me, would ever beg me like this. His cheeks were flushed, and he looked at me with deep affection. Seeing that I ignored him, he continued to defend himself. Kala, I know I shouldn't have kept this from you. Nini was born secretly by Nuri behind my back. When we found out you couldn't have children, I saw you so sad all the time, and I thought having a child might cheer you up, so I brought Nini home. And after Nini's birthday, I never contacted her again. Please forgive me, okay? When I heard Joran say that he only brought Nini back to make me happy, my parents' faces showed a hint of emotion. He was trying to use my infertility as an excuse to gain my parents' sympathy. Looking at Joran's ugly face, I felt inexplicably nauseous. He actually shifted all the blame onto Nuri and me. He didn't even take the slightest responsibility. I calmly took out the other evidence that I had asked my cousin to investigate earlier from my bag and threw it directly in Joran's face. There are photos of him alone with Nuri hugging and kissing each other, photos of him taking Nini to meet Nuri, and records of every single expense he made for Nuri. Most importantly, there is the surgical consent form that the hospital required Nuri's family to sign at the time of his birth, which clearly states his name, Joran, and the date is earlier than when I discovered my infertility. This is irrefutable evidence that Joran is lying. Joran's father's face turned red with embarrassment. He turned around and kicked Joran hard. You good for nothing. How can you do this to Kala? How can you do this to your father-in-law and mother-in-law? The facts are clear. These photos, consumption records, and Nuri's surgical consent form are all evidence of Joran's infidelity during their marriage. You should hurry up and get Joran to sign the divorce agreement. My patience is limited. I am determined and do not want to play along with them anymore. If you want to discipline your son, do as you please, but do not act all pious in front of me. Joran was stunned, seemingly not expecting things to turn out this way. In the end, the meal was not eaten. On the way home, I told my parents everything that had happened. They were both heartbroken and angry. They were heartbroken because their beloved daughter had chosen the wrong person. They were angry because I had been so stupid and naive, allowing myself to be deceived for so many years. There was nothing I could do but try to comfort them. After dropping them off at home, I planned to go back to that house I hated and pack up my things. Joran's parents had bought the house for us as a wedding gift, and although I was the registered owner, I didn't want it. I thought it was dirty, so I decided to leave it to Joran, Nuri, and their family of 3. As soon as I walked in, I saw Nuri coming out of the bedroom. Her white dress made her look exceptionally gentle, like a pure white jasmine flower. I remember I also have a dress like that, only it's red, a gift from Joran. When I excitedly changed into it to show him, he said that red suited me well and that I looked like a beautiful red rose. It turned out that I wasn't the only one who had it, Nuri had one too. The difference was that she was his unrequited love, the one he had loved for years. I warmed Joran's heart for 6 years, but I never managed to warm it up. She probably didn't expect me to come back and was startled. I hadn't even moved out yet, and Joran let you move in. Nuri, do you know that we are still legally married and protected by law? I looked at her with a half-smile, and she looked even more embarrassed. But that embarrassment quickly disappeared, replaced by intense hatred. Kala, you know everything, don't you? All of this should have been mine. Nini is the daughter I carried in my womb for 10 months, and Joran has always loved me. If it weren't for you, how would our family of 3 have been separated for so many years? She's just a foolish woman. My cousin had already investigated her background for me. Setting aside other factors, just the fact that she comes from an ordinary family means that Joran's mother, who looks down on everyone, would never choose her as a daughter-in-law. Not to mention, I was never the third party. It was Joran who told my parents himself that he was single and hoped to meet me, so I agreed to see him. No one can blame me for this. Nuri, get this straight. It was Joran who begged me to marry him. He abandoned you, and now he's the one who doesn't want a divorce. Since you say he's always loved you, then tell him to hurry up and sign the divorce papers. I hope you get what you want. After saying that, I went into the house, locked the door, and quickly opened my safe. Inside were all my precious diamonds, each one dear to my heart. Of course, I couldn't leave them to Joran and the others. As for the rest of my belongings, I didn't want any of them. I have OCD. Things that other people have used are only fit for the trash. When I opened the door again, Nuri was on the phone. She saw me carrying a small safe, and without hanging up the phone, she reached out and stopped me. Joran said you can't take anything from this house. Put it down, or I'll call the police. Call the police? I looked at her speechless. She must have hit her head on the door. And that bastard Joran, knowing that I was determined to divorce him, wanted to make things difficult for me. How could I let him get his way? I snatched her phone and shouted into it, addressing Joran on the other end. Joran, if you have the guts, call the police. Don't forget that I'm the owner of this house. As long as you refuse to sign, I'm still the master of this home. Without my permission, she, Nuri, is trespassing on someone else's property. We'll see if the police arrest me or her. Upon hearing that she might be arrested, Nuri panicked. She snatched back her phone and said tearfully to the person on the other end, Joran, let her go. I'm scared. Please come back with Nini, okay? Joran was silent for a moment before replying, Nuri, don't be afraid. I'll be right back. It seems that Joran really likes Nuri. If this had happened to me in the past, Joran would never have backed down. Love and indifference are really obvious. From beginning to end, I was the only one who was not loved. Fortunately, I don't love him anymore. Joran and I have completely broken up. I thought he would sign the divorce agreement without any fuss, but he has been stalling. At first, he pretended to be someone else, saying he would cut off all contact with Nuri. If I didn't want to raise Nini, he said I should send her away and adopt another child instead. Later, seeing that I was determined, he stopped pretending and revealed his true colors. He even threatened that if I insisted on divorcing him, he would expose my infertility and his plan to abandon our adopted daughter, to see if any of the well-matched families in our circle would still want to marry me. Unless I agreed to give him 20% of the company shares and half of my property, he finally showed his true colors. He clearly doesn't want to give up our family tree. I understand that his parents must have instructed him to do so. Back then, Joran's parents went to great lengths to arrange a marriage between Joran and me. They always saw Joran as the future heir to their family. Unfortunately, Joran is a lost cause. He is completely devoted to art and is not suited to take over the family business. It is only thanks to our family's support and his sister Ren's efforts that their company has grown to its current size. Compared to him, his sister Ren is more suitable to be his successor. At least that's what I think. One is a capable and powerful woman, and the other is a young man who pursues art. As long as you have eyes to see and a mind to think. When my parents found out about Joran's shameless request, they were furious and cursed Joran for being shameless. To be honest, I have no intention of remarrying. My only concern is whether this incident will affect my parents and the company's interests. After all, the company is currently at a critical juncture in its partnership with ZX Group, and we absolutely cannot allow any negative news to surface. The boss of ZX Group is someone who places great importance on family. If he were to believe the rumors and truly believe that I abandoned my adopted daughter, our partnership would be doomed. I don't know where Joran got this information, but he knew that I didn't dare to file for divorce easily. He began to threaten and intimidate me. First, he demanded that I transfer a large sum of money to him, then he gave me a week to transfer my company shares to him. I had to speed up negotiations and sign the contract as soon as possible to avoid any trouble with Joran. Just as I was working overtime nonstop, Joran's sister Ren asked to meet me alone. She said on the phone that she had a way to help me solve my current problem. So I agreed to meet her. She made an appointment at a coffee shop. I looked at Ren sitting across from me. She is still my sister-in-law in name. Beautiful, confident, and talented. We have a lot in common, but there is one thing I can't match her in, and that is her ruthlessness. She got straight to the point. I'll stop Joran from ruining your cooperation with ZX Group. I asked, what's your condition? She fiddled with the spoon in her cup and said slowly, the condition is that you help me buy the shares of the minority shareholders of QS Group. I immediately understood her intentions. She wanted to become the next chairman of QS Group. Why are you helping me? Joran is your own brother, and the group has always been your family's. Besides, you're already the company's vice president. Why do you need my help? Ren couldn't help but smile bitterly. That day, she said a lot. She said I would never understand her pain. I am an only child and was raised by doting parents. She was different. She had biased parents who looked down on her from the bottom of their hearts and only had eyes for her younger brother, Joran. Over the years, they had oppressed her relentlessly. When I got married, I took in a son-in-law just to keep him in the family and fight for the company inheritance. Because of me, she had been lying low all this time. Now that I'm divorcing Joran, it's like a gift from heaven for her. She wants to fight for herself. What finally made her decide was when her daughter Yao Yao had an argument with Nini a few days ago. Joran's parents felt sorry for their granddaughter and actually hit her daughter, so she began planning to seize power. I can tell she's an ambitious and capable person. Finally, we reached an agreement. However, she didn't tell me her plan, only asking me to wait for good news. I didn't misjudge her. Ren did it. The cooperation agreement with ZX Group was successfully signed, and Joran never showed up again. I kept my promise and quietly bought her shares. With no more worries, I hired a lawyer to file for divorce. In court, I saw Joran again. He no longer had his former vigor and looked very thin and weak. I heard that he was admitted to the ICU for several days after accidentally eating blueberries, which he was allergic to. I guess this was the plan that Ren didn't tell me about. Faced with irrefutable evidence of infidelity, Joran and Joran's father and mother were powerless to do anything, even if they didn't want to. A month later, I finally obtained the divorce certificate. As I stepped out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, Joran rushed toward me with a mad look on his face, but was stopped by my driver. He struggled while shouting, "It's you. It must be you. You deliberately poisoned me with blueberries to prevent me from disrupting your cooperation with ZX Group. I'm going to call the police." I laughed. "Joran, do you have any proof? That's defamation, and I can sue you, you know? He's been lying in the ICU for so long, there's no evidence left. Besides, I'm not the only one who knows he's allergic to blueberries. I don't know how Ren got him to eat the blueberries, but I know she'll destroy any evidence that could be used against her. It's like I've gotten to know her all over again. She's really ruthless." Soon, Ren convened a board meeting and successfully replaced Joran's father as the new chairman of QS Group. The smooth outcome was not only due to my assistance but also closely tied to her capabilities and tactics. I heard that Joran's father suffered a stroke due to high blood pressure caused by anger and has been lying in the hospital ever since. Because of this, Joran's mother and Joran had a big fight with Ren and cut off all contact with him. Ren now sends Joran's mother money for living expenses and pays for Joran's father's medical bills every month. But that's all he does. I thought Joran would marry Nuri, but he didn't. Joran's mother disagreed and threatened to kill herself if he dared to marry Nuri. Joran eventually gave in and had Nuri and Nini raised in the villa where we used to live. In order to return to her life as a wealthy woman, Joran's mother began looking for a new marriage partner for Joran, hoping to find another girl from a wealthy family like me. Surprisingly, she actually found her. The girl's name is Qian, and she had just returned from abroad. Although she has a strong and outspoken personality, she couldn't resist the family's wealth and influence. After dating for a while, the two got married, and the woman is now several months pregnant. Ren told me all of this. Ren and I often meet because of business. Every time we finish talking about work, she chats with me for a while. Our relationship seems much better than before. I saw Joran and Nuri again at the city hospital. However, this time, they did not come together. I was accompanying my best friend for a prenatal checkup when I saw Nuri alone with Nini. She was also pregnant, with a slightly bulging belly, but she looked a little haggard. For some reason, Nini suddenly started crying and fussing. She tried to calm her down for a while, but Nini continued to cry and fuss. She got so angry that she slapped Nini's bottom several times. "Bad mommy. I'm going to tell Daddy that I don't like you and I don't want you to be my mommy anymore, wah." Nini, who had been hit, cried loudly, attracting the attention of many people who stopped to look. Back then, I raised her for 5 years and never once brought myself to hit her, but she said she liked Nuri better. Maybe I was never meant to have a relationship with this child. Since she chose her biological mother back then, I can only respect her choice. Perhaps provoked by Nini's words, Nuri fought even harder. In the crowd, I saw Joran supporting a young woman who looked like she was about to give birth. She must be his new wife, Qian. What a small world. "Dad. Dad." Nini saw Joran in the crowd, pushed Nuri aside, and ran toward Joran. For a moment, the scene became chaotic. Seeing Joran being hugged by Nini, Qian quickly understood their relationship. His expression turned grim. She glanced at Nuri's belly, then looked at Joran, slapped him hard across the face, and stormed off. Joran and Nuri were left standing there awkwardly. The people around them looked at them with changing expressions, their initial curiosity turning to ridicule. They fled in disgrace under the gaze of everyone present. Looking back now, it seems they weren't as in love as they once were. Joran must have loved Nuri, but he loved himself even more. In the past, their love was free from financial pressures. All they needed was to give their hearts, and everything seemed so pure and beautiful. Now that their love has lost its financial foundation, the beauty of their relationship has vanished, and they can barely afford 3 meals a day. How could they possibly care about something as trivial as love? A month later, I heard the rest of the story from Ren. The day after the hospital incident, Qian first had Joran beaten up, then ordered him to take Nuri to have an abortion. Otherwise, he would be disowned. Ren said that Qian's family is powerful, even a criminal organization. I knew Joran was going to be in trouble. When we first got married, it was me and his parents who helped him fill the financial gaps in his studio. Now that he has remarried and lost the support of his parents, he can only rely entirely on his current wife. Joran, who has always relied on his wife's family to maintain his appearance and lifestyle, has no choice but to compromise. Although Nuri begged desperately, she was unable to save the baby. When she appeared at the entrance of my company with Nini, I was very surprised. She had changed so much that I almost didn't recognize her. She had lost a lot of weight and looked like a flower that had lost its vitality. She kept muttering to herself. I'm about to take Nini back to my hometown. Nini has been asking to see you, so I brought her to see you. You were right back then. Even though you're divorced, I can't get what I want. Joran is a scumbag. He ruined my life and my child's life. The doctor said I may never be able to have children again. There's something else I want to tell you. Back then, to prove to me that he didn't love you, he had a vasectomy. The infertility thing was also a lie he told you on purpose to get you to agree to adopt Nini. Kala, I'm really sorry. Her words left me feeling unsettled for a long time. Back then, in order to treat my infertility, I drank countless cups of herbal medicine that Joran's mother had found. I had always hated the bitter taste, but I forced myself to drink it all. Joran was still acting all innocent and pretending to feel sorry for me at the time, but now that I think about it, it's utterly disgusting. Joran is the main culprit, and her Nuri is an accomplice. She interfered in my marriage back then, and now she's interfering in someone else's. She could have had a happy life. What she is going through now is her own doing. I have no intention of forgiving Nuri, nor will I forgive Joran. Looking at Nini, who has been separated from me for a year, I think that we may never see each other again. I couldn't resist and finally touched Nini's head, taking out the diamond bracelet I had custom-made for her and putting it on her wrist. Nini, this is the gift I wanted to give you for your 5th birthday. It's a little late, but I hope you like it and that it will protect you as you grow up. Then I turned and left, even though Nini was crying and calling me mom behind me. I didn't look back. And just like that, Nuri took Nini and left the city for good. This was her comeuppance, and Joran's comeuppance soon followed. I began to contact Ren more frequently. We would arrange private meetings, as if we were old friends who had known each other for years. I never expected that she, who always appeared so serious, would be such a gossip. Every time we met, she would bring me the latest news. Most of it was about Joran. I heard that his wife had given birth to a blonde-haired, blue-eyed boy. Of course, the child couldn't be Joran's. It was her wife's ex-boyfriend's. Apparently, she was already pregnant when she returned to the country. Her family didn't approve of her marrying a foreigner, so they wanted to find a nominal father for the child, and Joran became the best choice. Two people with ulterior motives, one wanting to find a nominal father for the child, the other wanting to find a wealthy wife, they were birds of a feather. The moment Joran saw the child, he started demanding a divorce. This time, Joran became the person I once was. The only difference was that he wasn't as lucky as I was. He couldn't walk away unscathed. He became the laughingstock of the entire circle. A cheating wife, a child that wasn't his. In the end, the marriage didn't end in divorce, but Joran was beaten so badly by his brother-in-law that he had to stay in the hospital for a month. Because of the prenuptial agreement, if they had divorced, Joran would have gotten nothing, except a green hat. So Joran had no choice but to continue to swallow his anger and wear the green hat, living a miserable life in his father-in-law's home. Hearing about his current situation, I am very happy. His life is in shambles, and I believe that endless torment awaits him. Seeing how miserable he is, I feel relieved.